The first time I saw him, I was cleaning someone else's blood off his marble floor. My knees hurt against the cold stone as I moved the hard brush in circles, the strong smell of bleach making my nose burn. I'd been doing it for hours, ever since Mrs. Venuti, the strict housekeeper who'd hired me, pointed at the dark spot and said, "Make it go away before he gets back." She didn't explain who he was or whose blood had spilled on the fancy Italian marble. In this kind of job, questions were things I couldn't afford. 6 months ago, I would have been shocked. Now, I was just happy to have the job. When you're 24 with no college, no good references, and a 2-year-old daughter counting on you, you take whatever you can get. Even if it means cleaning weird spots off the floors of a big house that seemed dangerous in every dark corner, it's not clean enough. The voice, deep, quiet, and somehow scarier because it was so soft, made me stop breathing. I hadn't heard anyone come into the big front hall, but suddenly he was there, standing over me like a big shadow, pulling everything toward him. I kept my eyes down, looking at the almost gone spot. "I'm sorry, sir. I'll do better. Look at me when I speak to you." My heart pounded hard as I slowly looked up. The man standing over me couldn't have been more than 35, but he seemed so strong, like heat coming off him. He wore a dark gray suit that probably cost more than I'd make in a year. It fit his wide shoulders and slim body perfectly. His face was sharp, high cheekbones, straight nose, and full lips in a tight line, but it was his eyes that made my mouth feel dry. Dark, like strong coffee, they looked at me with the cold thinking of an animal deciding if food was worth catching. "You're new?" he said, not really asking, just noticing. "Yes, sir. It's my 2nd week." My voice sounded tiny even to me. "Your name?" "Elena. Elena Reyes." He held my gaze for what felt like forever, and I tried not to look away. Something scary flashed in those eyes, something that made warnings go through my body. "You missed a spot. Elena Reyes." He pointed to a part of the floor I'd already cleaned 3 times. I swallowed hard. "I'll fix it right away, Mr. Salvatore," he supplied. "Dante Salvatore, this is my home." The name hit me like a punch. Everyone in the city knew that name, whispered it, feared it. Dante Salvatore, the man who controlled everything from the docks to City Hall with tough ways. They called him the Ghost, not because he was hard to find, but because people who went against him just vanished, and I was on my knees in front of him cleaning his floors. "The children who live in my properties don't go hungry," he said suddenly, his accent getting a bit stronger. "Yet your daughter looks thin." Ice went through my veins. "How do you? I know everything about everyone who enters my home." His eyes got smaller. "You live in the Westbrook Apartments, building C Unit 312, rent-controlled housing I acquired last month." My mouth went dry. The fact that he knew about Lily, that he'd seen her, made me feel naked in a way that was more than just body. She's fine," I stammered. "We're fine." His face didn't change, but something moved in those dark eyes. "Finish here, then report to the kitchen. Mrs. Venuti will have a package for you to take home." Before I could answer, he turned and walked away, his footsteps quiet on the marble floor I'd spent hours cleaning. I let out a breath I hadn't known I was holding, my hands shaking as I picked up the brush again. That night, I went back to our small apartment with a package that had enough food to fill our empty fridge for weeks. As I tucked Lily into bed, her little body finally full for the first time in months, I wondered what price would come later for Dante Salvatore's surprise kindness. I didn't have to wait long to find out. 3 weeks later, I was told to clean the east wing of the mansion, the private rooms. Mrs. Venuti gave me the key card with clear doubt. "Mr. Salvatore specifically requested you," she said, her Italian accent getting stronger with not liking it. "Touch nothing beyond what needs cleaning. The security cameras see everything." The warning wasn't needed. I'd spent enough time in the mansion to know the quiet rules. "Look, but don't see. Hear, but don't listen. Know, but don't speak." The east wing was different from the rest of the house, where the main areas were made to show off with their cold, fancy stuff. These rooms felt almost lived in a book left open on a side table. A glass with fingerprints still there. Signs of normal life in a place that felt like a museum to money and power. I was changing the sheets on the huge 4-poster bed when I heard the door open behind me. I didn't need to turn to know who it was. Something in the air changed when he came into a room, like the air getting heavy before a storm. Your efficiency has been noted, Dante said, his voice closer than I thought. I turned to find him standing just inside the doorway, watching me with that same hard-to-read face. Today, he wore no jacket, just a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up to show arms with muscles. A thin scar ran along his left wrist going under his sleeve, proof that even the untouchable Mr. Salvatore was human enough to bleed. "Thank you, sir," I replied, keeping my voice steady even with the nervous feeling in my chest. "You haven't asked about the food." I smoothed the silk sheets. "Buy time. It's not my place to question your kindness. Look at me, Elena." I did, though everything in me wanted to keep my eyes down, to be invisible. When I met his gaze, I was surprised to find something almost like interest there. "Most people want something from me," he said. "They take what I offer, and right away ask for more. Yet you've said nothing." "I have Lily to think about," I admitted. "Pride is a luxury for people who don't have kids to feed." Something changed in his face, a softening so small I might have thought it up. "How did you end up here cleaning my floors?" The question surprised me. No one in this house had ever asked about my life before. "Bad choices," I said simply. "A man who left when I got pregnant. Medical bills I couldn't pay. The usual story." "What happened to your back?" The question hit me like a punch. My hand went to my shoulder blade where I knew the edge of a scar showed under the collar of my uniform. I'd been careful, so careful to keep them hidden. "I don't know what you mean," I lied, heart pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. In 3 smooth steps he came close between us. I pulled back without thinking, a habit from years of bad times. His eyes got smaller at my move, noting it with cold care. "Don't lie to me, Elena." His voice was soft, but had an edge sharp enough to cut. "I saw them when you were reaching to dust the top shelf in the library. Burns, if I'm not mistaken." Shame went through me, hot and hard to breathe. Those scars were my secret, the body reminder of the worst night of my life. The night I learned what Lily's father could do when I told him I was keeping the baby. "It was a long time ago," I whispered. Dante's face didn't change, but the air around him seemed to shake with a cold, held in anger. "Who? It doesn't matter anymore. It matters to me." The owning feeling in those 4 simple words should have scared me. Instead, something else opened in my chest, something risky and warm. "Why would you care about the scars of a woman who cleans your floors?" I asked right away, wishing I hadn't been bold. But instead of anger, a smile went across his lips. Gone so fast I might have thought it up. "Perhaps I've developed an inconvenient interest in what belongs to me." "I don't belong to you," I said, the words coming out before I could stop them. His eyes got darker. "Everyone in this house belongs to me, Elena. The sooner you accept that, the easier your life will be." He reached out, and I tried not to step back as his fingertips touched the edge of my collar, just barely on the raised skin of my scar. The touch sent sparks down my back. "Tomorrow you'll start working only in my private rooms," he said, pulling his hand back. "Your pay will be doubled. Mrs. Venuti will set up someone to watch your daughter during your longer hours." It wasn't a ask why. I asked, couldn't stop myself. "Because I protect what's mine," he answered simply. "And I've decided that includes you." As he turned to leave, panic came up in my throat. "Mr. Salvatore," I called after him. "The man who gave me these scars, he's still out there. If he finds us..." Dante stopped at the door, looking back at me over his shoulder. The look on his face made my blood cold. "Not for long, Elena," he said softly. "Not for long." After he left, I sat on the edge of the bed, my legs suddenly too weak to hold me. What had I done? In a moment of weakness, I'd shown too much. Got the notice of a man who ruined people as easy as others might kill flies. That night, as I held Lily close and smelled her sweet, innocent smell, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd made a bad mistake, that I'd traded one dangerous man for another much worse. I just didn't know then how far Dante Salvatore would go to. Claim what he thought was his, or that by this time next month, the father of my child would be missing. Presumed dead, and I would be moving my daughter into the east wing of a mansion built on blood money and broken bones. I didn't know that in trying to escape one cage, I'd walk into another fancy one with a predator who would never let me leave. The first time I saw the full extent of Dante Salvatore's power, I was standing in his kitchen at midnight, trying hard to calm my crying daughter. "Shh, baby, please," I whispered, bouncing Lily in my arms as she cried, her small face red with fever. "You'll wake everyone." We'd been living in the East Wing for 3 weeks. The change had happened super fast. One day I was cleaning Dante's floors. The next I was set up in rooms bigger than any place I'd lived, with Lily in a nursery that looked like it came from a fancy magazine. I never asked how he'd done it so quick. Some questions were better not asked. Tonight, Lily's fever had gone up fast, her little body hot against mine as she cried in pain. I'd gone downstairs quiet to find medicine, trying not to bother the sleeping house. In Dante's world, I'd learned quick that bothering others could have bad results. "What's wrong with her?" The voice behind me made me freeze. I turned to find Dante standing in the kitchen doorway, wearing only black pajama bottoms. In the low light, I could see scars I'd never seen before, a map of fights across his chest and shoulders. Even with everything, my eyes stayed on the lean muscle of his body before I made myself look at his face. "She has a fever," I explained. My voice tired as Lily kept crying. "I was looking for kids' medicine. I'm sorry we woke you." Instead of the mad I thought, something else went across his face. Worry maybe, though it looked weird on his sharp face. "How high?" he asked, coming to where we stood. 1 or 2, 3. It came on fast. Without asking, he reached out and put his hand soft against Lily's forehead. To my surprise, she got quiet at his touch, her cries turning to whimpers as she looked up at him with fever-shiny eyes. "My doctor will be here in 15 minutes, he said, already getting his phone on the counter. "At midnight?" "That's not needed, Elena." My name in his mouth was both warning and nice. When I say my doctor will come, he will come no matter the time. True to his word, exactly 13 minutes later, an old man with kind eyes and a doctor bag came at the kitchen door, not looking surprised at all to be called to the Salvatore mansion in the middle of the night. As the doctor checked Lily, Dante stood watching with a strong look that should have been scary. Instead, I found myself getting weird comfort from him being there, strong and steady in the bright light of the kitchen. "An ear infection," the doctor said at last, putting away his tools, common in kids her age. "I've brought medicine and something for the pain." Relief went through me, making my knees weak. Lily had fallen asleep against my shoulder, tired from crying and helped by the medicine the doctor gave. "Thank you," I whispered, knowing the words weren't enough. "I don't know how I'll pay." The doctor waved away my worry with a smile that didn't go to his eyes. "Mr. Salvatore takes care of his own," he said simply. After the doctor left, I thought Dante would go back to his rooms, his job done. Instead, he pointed for me to follow him into the next sitting room, where a fire still burned low in the big stone fireplace. "Sit," he said, pointing to a soft chair. I did, holding Lily against me as she slept. Dante poured brown liquid from a fancy bottle into a glass and gave it to me. "Drink. It will help with the shock." "I'm not in shock," I said. Even as I took the glass, his lips curved into something almost like a smile. "Your hands haven't stopped shaking since you came downstairs." I hadn't noticed until he said it, but he was right. I took a sip of what was very fancy bourbon, the liquid burning down my throat. "Why are you doing all this?" I asked, the question that had been inside me for weeks, finally coming out. "The rooms, the clothes, the doctor, why us?" Dante sat in the chair across mine, his dark eyes showing the low firelight. "When I was 5 years old, my mother got sick with pneumonia," he said, his voice so low I had to lean in to hear. "My father wouldn't call a doctor. Said it would make him look weak to care so much about a woman. She died 3 days later." The story stunned me quiet. It was the first personal thing he'd shared, and its meaning wasn't lost on me. "I'm sorry," I said at last. "Don't be. It taught me an important lesson about power. True power isn't found in causing pain. Any animal can do that. True power is in having the way to stop suffering and choosing to use it." He leaned forward, his eyes never leaving mine. "I saw your scars, Elena. I saw what someone did to you because they could, because they liked your pain." My hand went to my shoulder where the worst of the burn scars was hidden under my nightshirt. "That doesn't explain why you brought us here, doesn't it?" Something risky flashed in his eyes. "Maybe I saw something in you, something that called to me. Or maybe I just wanted to show you what it feels like to be protected rather than owned." The funny thing about his words wasn't lost on me. Everything about Dante Salvatore screamed owning, from the way his eyes followed my moves to the way he'd taken away every problem between us. What happened to Lily's father? I asked suddenly. The question that had bugged me for weeks finally said. After I told you about the scars, he disappeared. That wasn't random. Dante's face didn't change, but something cold and deadly came over him like a second skin. Do you really want to know? I thought about the man who had held me down and pressed a hot knife to my skin when I said no to abortion. Who had threatened to take Lily if I ever left him. Who had made my life hell until I escaped with nothing but my daughter and the clothes we had. No, I said quietly. I don't think I do, smart girl. The okay in his voice sent a wrong thrill through me. But I need to know something else, I went on, brave from the bourbon and the weird closeness of the midnight time. What do you want from me, Dante? Really? His eyes got darker at the sound of his name on my lips. The first time I'd used it instead of Mr. Salvatore. He stood and came toward me with the smooth move of an animal, dropping to one knee by my chair, so his face was even with mine. What I want, he said softly, reaching out to brush hair from my face, is for you to stop pulling away when I come near you. What I want is for you to know that not all men use their strength to break things. His fingers went down to the collar of my nightshirt, gently pulling it aside to show the edge of a scar. Unlike before when shame had filled me at showing it, something else ran through me at his touch. Your scars don't make you broken, Elena. They make you a survivor. His voice went to a whisper. And I find that very interesting. The air between us changed, full of something risky and sparkly. His face was inches from mine, close enough that I could feel his breath on my lips. For one wild, scary moment I thought he might kiss me, and worse, that I might let him. Instead, he stood fast, putting space between us. Get some rest. The doctor will come back tomorrow to check on Lily. He was gone before I could answer, leaving me out of breath and mixed up, with a sleeping child in my arms, and the leftover warmth of his touch on my skin. The next morning, a package came for Lily, a stuffed bear almost as big as her, with a bunch of kid books. There was no card, no note, but I knew who sent them. Just as I knew the fancy clothes that showed up in my closet the day after I moved in were his doing, or the piano that got put in our rooms when I'd said once that I used to play as a kid. Dante Salvatore was trying to win me in his own weird owning way through actions rather than words, through safety rather than love. I told myself it meant nothing to me, that I was just using his strange interest to give Lily a better life. That when the time was right, we would leave this fancy cage and go our own way. I almost believed it until the night of the gala. You will come with me, Dante told me one morning as I poured his coffee, his tone making it clear this wasn't an ask. The event honors the kids' hospital my family has helped for years. I'm not. I don't belong at events like that, I said. I'm your housekeeper. His eyes flashed with something risky. Is that all you think you are to me? The question stayed between us, full of meanings I wasn't ready to think about. What else would I be? He stood from the breakfast table, coming to stand so close I could smell his cologne. Bergamot and sandalwood with something darker under. That's what we'll find out tonight, he said softly. A car will pick you up at 7. Mrs. Venuti will watch Lily. That evening, I stood before the mirror in my rooms, hardly knowing the woman looking back. The dress, brought that afternoon without saying why, was a deep green that made my eyes look like gold in the low light. It hugged shapes I'd forgotten I had after years of big t-shirts and work clothes. My dark hair, usually in a simple bun, fell in loose waves past my shoulders. For the first time in years, I looked like the woman I'd been before the scars, before the fear, before I'd learned to make myself not seen. When I went down the big stairs, Dante was waiting in the front hall below, his back to me as he talked quiet to his driver. At some sign I didn't see, he turned, and the look that went across his face as he saw me took my breath away. Hunger, open and real. You look beautiful, he said, his voice rougher than usual. Thank you. The words came out quiet as he helped me into the waiting Bentley. His hand stayed on the small of my back, sending sparks up my back. The car drove away from the mansion, and I watched Dante from the side of my eye, hit by how different he seemed outside his home, more watchful, more in control. If such a thing was possible for a man who already showed total command, 2 black SUVs were on each side of our car. Guards, I got with a shock. I'd never gone out from the place with Dante before, had never seen this part of his life. People will talk, I said suddenly, Worry in my chest about why you brought your housekeeper to a gala. His mouth curved into that small smile that always made my heart beat faster. Let them talk. In my world, Elena, how people see things is a weapon. Tonight, we shape how they see to help us. And what way is that? His eyes met mine in the dim car, dark and strong, that you are under my protection. That anyone who touches you, his voice went to a risky whisper. Touches me? The meaning sent a shiver through me that wasn't fear. Why would anyone want to touch me? Because you're mine, he said simply. And in my world, what belongs to Dante Salvatore is always a target. The Bentley slowed as we got to a big hotel lit up like a light against the night sky. Before we stopped fully, Dante reached across and took my hand in his thumb making slow circles on my palm. There's something you should know before we go in, he said, his voice low. There will be people there tonight who know what you were to me before. A housekeeper, nothing more. They'll think I've taken you as a girlfriend. Heat went to my cheeks. And have you? The question stayed between us, full of things I'd not thought about until now. That depends, he replied, his eyes on mine, on whether you want to be taken. The double meaning wasn't lost on me. Before I could answer, the car door opened and Dante got out, holding his hand to help me. As I got out, flashes went off around us. Cameras catching the famous Dante Salvatore and his mystery friend. His arm went around my waist, pulling me to his side in a move that was both safe and owning. Smile, he whispered by my ear, his breath warm on my skin. Tonight, you're no longer not seen. As we walked toward the door, I felt lots of curious looks, heard the quiet questions through the crowd. Who was this woman with the city's most dangerous man? Where had she come from? What power did she have over the untouchable Dante Salvatore? What none of them knew? What I was just starting to get was that the real question wasn't what power I had over him. It was what power he'd already taken over me. The ballroom shone with money and strength, crystal lights throwing rainbow light over women with lots of diamonds and men whose easy talks shaped the city's future. I felt like a fake among them, even with the fancy dress and Dante's hand owning at the small of my back. Stop looking like you're about to run, Dante said quiet, his lips close to my ear as he led me through the crowd. You belong here as much as anyone. We both know that's not true, I whispered back. I was cleaning your floors a month ago. His hold got tighter a bit, a quiet reminder of his strength. And tonight, you're on my arm, which makes you stronger than half the people in this room. Remember that. Before I could answer, an older man with silver hair and sharp eyes came to us. Though he smiled, there was nothing nice in it, just thinking and hidden wonder. Dante, he said, his accent thick and Eastern European. What a nice surprise. You don't come to these events much, Victor. Dante nodded, his body changing a bit, more careful, more like a hunter. The children's hospital is worth the bother. Victor's look went to me, checking in a way that made my skin feel bad. And you've brought a friend. How unusual, Elena, Dante said. This is Victor Petrov. He controls the shipping ways north of the city. The intro was sharp. A reminder of business lines rather than a nice chat. Charmed, Victor said, taking my hand and kissing it before I could pull away. I wonder where Dante has been hiding such a pretty thing. In plain sight, I replied, surprising myself with being bold. Sometimes the best things aren't locked up. Victor's eyebrows went up, and next to me, I felt Dante's quiet okay. Indeed, Victor said, letting go my hand. His eyes got hard as he turned to Dante. Speaking of best things, we should talk about the docks thing alone. Not tonight, Dante replied smooth. Tonight is for charity, not business. A quick mad went across Victor's face. The matter is urgent. Your not being in some talks has been seen. Something risky flashed in Dante's eyes. Careful, Victor. Seeing my moves too close could be bad for your health. The threat stayed in the air between them, wrapped in nice talk, but clear in what it meant. I tried not to step back, suddenly knowing I was between two hunters. Maybe I'll visit you tomorrow then. Victor gave in, though his smile didn't go to his eyes. He turned to me, nodding a bit. Elena, I hope we'll meet again soon. As he went back into the crowd, I let out a breath I hadn't known I was holding. He doesn't like me. He doesn't know what to make of you. Dante fixed, leading me to the bar. Which makes you something he can't handle. Men like Victor fear what they can't handle. And men like you? I asked, taking the champagne glass he gave me. His lips curved a bit. Men like me get rid of what we can't handle. Or we own it so fully that handling isn't needed. The words sent a shiver down my back. A reminder that the man next to me with his soft touches and safe moves was still the same man who made people go away without a mark. "Is that what you're doing with me?" I asked, the champagne making me bold. "Owning me so fully that you don't need to handle me?" His eyes got darker as they stayed on mine. "Do you feel handled, Elena?" The question made me stop. In the weeks I'd lived under Dante's roof, he'd never once raised his voice to me, never threatened, never asked for. He'd given Lily and me everything we could need or want. The cage he'd made was so pretty, so comfy. I sometimes forgot it was a cage at all. I feel I stopped, looking for the right word. Protected. "There's a difference," he said softly. "Is there?" I pushed. "Protection needs power. The power to keep others away. The power to decide what's best for me. How is that different from control?" Instead of answering, Dante put down his drink he hadn't touched and held out his hand. "Dance with me." It wasn't an ask, but I took his hand anyway, letting him lead me to the middle of the ballroom where other pairs moved to the music's waltz. His arm went around my waist, pulling me against him with an owning that should have scared me. Instead, I found myself relaxing into his hold, my body fitting against his like it was made for it. "Control," he said, his voice low so only I could hear, "is stopping. It's punishment and reward. Doing. And what happens? Protection." His hand spread against my lower back, warm through the thin dress. "Is freedom in lines. The freedom to live without fear, to grow, to want. And which do you like?" I asked, my voice just a whisper. His eyes held mine, dark and strong. "With you? Neither." "What then?" His hold got tighter a tiny bit. "Devotion." The word stayed between us, heavy with meaning. I wasn't ready to face. Before I could answer, the music ended, and Dante led me from the dance floor, his hand never leaving the small of my back. Through the evening, I watched him move through the crowd with the careful skill of a chess player, nice when needed, scary when helpful. Everyone wanted something from him, a bit of his time, a business help, a group tie. And through it all, he kept me at his side. A message I was just starting to get. It was way past midnight when we finally left, the Bentley moving through empty streets as I watched city lights go by the window. The quiet between us was full of unsaid words, questions I didn't dare ask, answers he wasn't ready to give. When we got back to the mansion, Dante walked me to my rooms, stopping at the door. "Did Mrs. Venuti say how Lily was tonight?" I asked, suddenly wanting to break the pull between us. "She slept all evening, no fever." His eyes hadn't left my face since we came in the house. "You should check on her." I nodded, reaching for the doorknob, only to feel his hand close soft around my wrist, stopping me. "Elena." My name in his mouth was both question and order. I turned back to him, heart pounding. "Yes. Tonight, when Victor looked at you, when they all looked at you, do you know what they saw?" I shook my head a bit. "They saw a woman who has power over me." His thumb made slow circles on my pulse. "A woman I would kill for." The words should have scared me. Instead, heat went low in my stomach. A risky want I'd been ignoring for weeks. "Is that true?" I whispered. His answer was to lean forward, his lips by my ear. "Go check on your daughter, Elena. We'll finish this talk another time." Then he was gone, leaving me out of breath and mixed up at my own door. I should have known our fragile calm couldn't last. The warning came 3 days after the gala, in a small white envelope to me. I was sitting in the garden watching Lily chase butterflies across the cut grass when Mrs. Venuti came with the mail. "This came for you," she said, her tone showing she didn't like anyone sending mail to me at the Salvatore mansion. The envelope had a single photo. Me going into the mansion with Lily in my arms, taken from far, but clear enough to know us both. On the back, in nice writing, were the words, "What would Dante Salvatore do to keep you safe? We're eager to find out." Ice went through my veins as I looked at the threat in my hands. Someone had been watching us. Someone knew about Lily. Someone was planning to use us against Dante. I should have gone to him right away. Instead, panic and habit took over. The same habit that had kept Lily and me alive when her father tried to hurt us. I ran. It was almost too easy. Mrs. Venuti had gone inside, and the guard who usually walked the garden had stepped away for a call. I picked up Lily, grabbed my purse, and went through the gate to the service road. A taxi going by took us to the bus place. By the time anyone at the mansion saw we were gone, we were already leaving the city, headed for my cousin's house 3 towns away. I knew it was useless. If Dante wanted to find us, he would. But the need to keep Lily safe beat smart thinking. I had to get her away from the danger I'd brought into her life without knowing. My cousin Marta asked no questions when we showed up at her door, though her eyes got big at my fancy clothes and the thick money in my wallet, cash I'd saved from my good pay. Just for a few days, I promised, until I figure things out. Marta, who'd taken me in once before when I was running from Lily's father, just nodded and showed us to her extra room. That night, after Lily slept, I sat by the window watching shadows on the street. Every car made my heart fast. Every far sound could be steps coming. I knew it was only a matter of time. I was right. The black Bentley came outside Marta's simple home at exactly 2:13 a.m. I watched from the window as Dante got out, his face a mask of cold mad even in the dim light. He was alone. No guards, no driver, which somehow made him scarier. I met him at the door before he could knock, not wanting to wake everyone. "How did you find me?" I asked, though the question was useless. Dante Salvatore could find anyone he wanted. His eyes were darker than I'd seen, mad and something else. Fear just under. "You're mine," he said simply, as though that said it all. And maybe it did. "We need to leave," I whispered, stepping on the porch and closing the door behind me. "Someone's watching us. Someone sent a threat." "I know," he cut in, his voice deadly quiet. "Viktor Petrov's men have been following you for days. When you left the garden, they followed you here." Horror went over me. "You knew about the threats and didn't tell me." "I didn't know they'd reach you direct." A muscle moved in his jaw. "A mistake I won't make again. Dante, you ran." The blame cut through the night air between us. "I gave you everything. Safety, security, a future for your daughter, and you ran from me." "I ran because I was trying to keep Lily safe." My voice got louder even though I tried to stay quiet. "I ran because being with you put a target on her." Something flashed in his eyes. Hurt, quick, hidden by mad. "And you think you can keep her safe better than I can? You think running to your cousin's no-guard home in the night was keeping her safe? I think I'm her mom, and it's my job to keep her safe. From me?" he asked, stepping closer until I could feel the heat from his body, from the bad things of being important to you. I fixed, standing firm even with my heart pounding. He was quiet for a long time, his eyes never leaving mine. When he spoke again, his voice went to a risky whisper. "Get your daughter, Elena. We're going home. And if I say no," the look he gave me was both soft and scary, "then I'll show you what it means to belong to Dante Salvatore." Something in his tone sent heat through me. A basic answer to the raw owning in his words. For a moment I thought about saying no, thought telling him that Lily and I would go our way, that we didn't need his safety or his owning. But the photo came in my mind, the threat in those careful words. Whoever sent it wouldn't stop because I'd left the mansion. If anything, we were more easy to get now. "Give me 5 minutes," I said at last. Relief went across his face, so quick I might have thought it up. 3, he said. "And Elena?" His hand caught my wrist as I turned to the door. "Don't make me come in after you." 15 minutes later, we were in the Bentley. Lily, still asleep like magic in the car seat that appeared like by magic, I sat stiff next to Dante, the quiet between us heavy with unsaid blames. "You scared me," he said at last, his eyes on the road ahead. "When Mrs. Venuti told me you were gone, I thought Petro had taken you." The words stunned me. I'd never heard Dante say fear before. Hadn't been sure he could feel it. "I'm sorry," I whispered, meaning it. I panicked. His hand found mine in the dark, fingers together with a soft that didn't match the mad I'd seen earlier. "Don't ever run from me again, Elena. If you're scared, if you're threatened, if you're not sure, come to me." Always to me. I knew I should pull my hand away, keep some line between us. Instead, I found myself holding tighter. "What happens now?" I asked. "With Petro?" Dante's face got hard, the quick soft gone as fast as it came. "Now I show Viktor why going against me is death." The cold sure in his voice sent a shiver down my back, a reminder that the man next to me, whose hand held mine with such soft, could do bad violence. "Will there be blood on your floors again?" I asked quiet. His eyes met mine quick, dark and hard to read in the low car light. "Not this time." He squeezed my hand soft. "This time, there won't be anything left to clean up." As the Bentley moved through the night toward the mansion that was our home, I got with clear shock that I was no longer scared of Dante Salvatore. I was scared of what I felt for him, scared of how my heart beat fast when he came in a room, scared of how safe I felt with him, even knowing what he could do. Most of all, I was scared of the growing sure that I didn't want to run anymore. Not from him, not from this life, not from the risky eating feeling that had started in my chest. Because somewhere between cleaning his floors and sitting next to him in his car, I'd started to want the very cage I'd once feared. When we got back to the mansion that night, Dante carried Lily to her bed himself. I watched from the door as he put her down with surprise soft, his big hand smoothing her dark curls from her forehead. "She looks like you," he said quiet, his eyes on her small face. "Everyone says that." I went to stand by him, pulled by the soft in his look, a side of him so few people ever saw. "Good." His voice went lower. "It means there's nothing of him in her." The simple words carried such weight. Knowing the pain in my past and strong safety of my daughter's future in one breath. After tucking Lily in, Dante led me not to my rooms but to his private study. A room I'd cleaned but never gone in as anything but help. The space was him perfectly. Dark wood, leather books, and windows from floor to ceiling looking over the big grounds. A fancy bottle of brown liquid sat on a side table, catching the low light. "Drink," he said, pouring 2 glasses and giving one to me. "You need it." I took it without fighting the day catching up as tired settled deep in my bones. The whiskey burned nice down my throat, warming me inside. "We need to talk about what happens next," Dante said, watching me over his glass. "With Petro? With us?" The 2 simple words stayed in the air between us, full of chance. I took another sip of whiskey, getting time to think. "I don't know what you want me to say," I said at last. Dante put his glass down and came close, taking my face in his hands with a soft that didn't match the strength I knew he had. "Say you'll stay," he said low, his eyes never leaving mine. "Not as my housekeeper, not as a woman under my safety, but as mine, Elena, all mine." My heart pounded hard, him being close making it hard to think clear. "And what does that mean to be yours?" "It means no more faking." His thumb traced my cheek, sending sparks on my skin. "No more separate rooms. No more lines between us. And Lily, she's been mine since you both came in my house." The owning in his voice should have scared me. Instead, it started something warm and risky in my stomach. "Dante." Whatever I might have said was lost as his mouth took mine, the kiss at once soft and breaking. His lips moved on mine with skill, asking rather than taking, though the held-back power behind it was clear. I should have pulled away, should have thought who he was, what he was. Instead, I found myself relaxing against him, my body going against every smart thought as my arms went around his neck when we broke apart at last, both out of breath. His eyes had gone to black. "Tell me to stop," he whispered, his forehead on mine. "Tell me you don't want this, and I'll never touch you again." The choice stayed between us, the last bit of control he was giving me. In that moment, with his taste on my lips and his hands soft at my waist, there was only one answer I could give. "Don't stop," I breathed, and watched his look change with hunger. What came next was a mix of feeling, his mouth hot on my neck, my back against the bookshelf as his hands checked my body with holy owning. When he carried me to his bedroom, putting me across sheets that smelled of sandalwood and him, I gave in fully to the wave of feeling that had been building since the first time I saw him. "You're mine now, Elena," he whispered on my skin, the words both promise and warning. "And I protect what's mine." Later, as we lay mixed in silk sheets, my head on his chest, I traced the scars on his body. Proof of a bad life I was just starting to get. "Will you ever tell me how you got these?" I asked, my finger following a bad scar that curved from his collarbone to his chest bone. His hand caught mine, bringing my fingers to his lips. "Some stories are better not told. And Petro?" I couldn't stop asking. "What will happen to him?" Dante's look got hard, the lover going away as the dangerous man I'd first met came back. "He threatened what belongs to me, There's only one way for that. A shiver went through me, not all fear. You'll kill him. I'll destroy him, he fixed. Fully, no going back. His business, his name, his life, all gone by this time tomorrow. The cold shore in his voice reminded me of what I'd chosen, of who I'd chosen. Dante Salvatore, who ran an empire on blood and power, who could be soft with my daughter one time and order a man's death the next. Does that scare you? He asked, looking at my reaction with those sharp dark eyes. I thought about lying, but he would see through it fast. Yes, I said, but not the way it should. His lips curved into that rare, real smile that made my heart skip. Good. A good fear will keep you alive in my world. Elena, is that what this is now? Your world? His hand held my face, thumb on my lower lip. Our world, and I'll burn anyone who tries to take it from us. The words were both pretty and bad, a promise of safety wrapped in violence. Yet, as I went to sleep in his arms, I couldn't say no to the feeling of right, of belonging that came over me. For better or worse, I had chosen my cage and the man who had the key. The calm. We found that night lasted exactly 27 hours. I was in the garden with Lily, watching her chase butterflies across the cut grass, when Mrs. Venuti came by my side. Her usual strict look changed with something that might have been worry. Mr. Salvatore needs you in his study, she said, her accent stronger with stress. Right away, something in her tone sent worry through me. What's happened? Her eyes went to Lily. I'll watch the child go now. I hurried through the mansion, my mind thinking of bad things, each worse than the last. When I got to Dante's study, the door was open a bit, voices coming from inside. Dante's, cold withheld and mad, and another I didn't know. I knocked once, then pushed the door open to find Dante standing behind his desk, his body stiff with stress. Across from him stood a man in a fancy suit, his back to me. Elena. Dante's eyes met mine, something like warning in them. Come in and close the door. As I stepped in more, the visitor turned and the floor seemed to fall under me, the face that had been in my bad dreams for years. Sharp looks, cold blue eyes, mean mouth smiled at me with fake nice. Hello, Elena, said the father of my child. It's been a while. My throat closed, panic taking my voice as my eyes went fast to Dante. This wasn't possible. David was supposed to be gone. Gone or worse, Dante had promised me. What are you doing here? I got out at last, hating the shake in my voice. David's smile got bigger, showing perfect white teeth. Is that any way to say hi to the father of your child? After all this time, Mr. Reed says he's been looking for you, Dante said, his voice fake calm. Only the killing look in his eyes showed his mad. For the daughter, he says, was stolen from him. Knowing hit me like cold water. David hadn't come for me. He'd come for Lily. My hand went to the scar on my shoulder, the memory of that night fresh in my mind. You have no right, I whispered, my fear turning to mad. You wanted me to get rid of her. You held me down and my voice broke. Old stuff, David waved away. I've changed, got help from my mad problems. I have rights, Elena. Legal rights to my daughter. You threatened to kill her if I didn't get rid of her. I said mad, finding strength in my anger. You burned me when I said no. David's look didn't change, but something ugly flashed in his eyes. Claims without proof from a woman with known mind health problems. I have people who will say you were not stable in our time. Elena, who do you think a judge will believe? Horror went over me as I got what he was doing. He didn't care about Lily, had never cared. This was about control, about punishing me for getting away. That won't happen, Dante cut in, his voice deadly soft. Elena and Lily are under my safety now. David turned to him with fake rudeness. Ah, yes, the famous Mr. Salvatore. I've heard all about your setup with my old girlfriend. Tell me, how much did you pay for her? She always had a way for sticking to rich men. I saw the exact time Dante's control broke. A small change in his stand, a darkening of his eyes that promised bad. Before he could move, I stepped between them, my hand pressing on Dante's chest. Don't, I asked quiet. Not like this. His eyes met mine, mad fighting with the promise he'd made to keep us safe. With hard work, he held in his mad. You have 10 seconds to leave my place, Dante told David, his voice scary calm. Before I forget, my lady asked for holdback. David's smirk went a bit, but he got back fast. I'm not going without seeing my daughter. I have a court order. A court order that hasn't been given right, Dante cut in. That hasn't been looked at by my lawyers. That will be stuck in court fights for years before it touches Lily. A flash of not sure went across David's face, quick changed by sure look. You can't keep her from me forever, Salvatore. I have money too. Ties. I know things about your work that would interest some Fed agents. The threat stayed in the air, open and risky. Dante's look didn't change, but I felt the stress coming from him like heat. Be very careful with your next words, Dante warned soft. Threats in my house don't end well for the one saying them. David's eyes went to me, cold and thinking. I'll see you in court, Elena, and I'll take Lily one way or another. She belongs with her father. He turned to go, stopping at the door to say one last mean thing. I always knew you'd end up as some rich man's. At least you found one who can afford better guards than the last. The door closed behind him and the hold Dante had shattered. With a yell of mad, he swept everything from his desk. Fancy bottle, laptop, papers, sending them crashing to the floor in a burst of glass and mad. I stood still, shock and fear fighting in me as I watched the man I'd given to change into something scary and basic. This was the Dante Salvatore the world knew. The man who ruined his enemies without nice or weight. He won't touch her, Dante growled, his eyes black with mad. He won't come within 1,000 yards of either of you. How did he find us? I whispered, wrapping my arms around me as shakes started in my body. How did he know where we were? Dante came to me in 3 fast steps, his hands soft as they held my face, even with the mad still in every part of his body. Prof, he said dark, this is his fight back. He couldn't get to me direct, so he found the one who could hurt you most. But how? Money, Dante said simple. Enough money can find anyone, Elena, even a man who went away. Cold knowing came over me. You didn't kill him. It wasn't a question. When I told you about the scars, about what he did, you didn't kill him. Something like sorry went across Dante's face. I had him beat, warned, paid to stay away from you and Lily forever. His jaw got tight. A mistake I won't do again. Fear held my chest. Not for me, but for the man in front of me. Dante, no. If anything happens to him now after he threatened you open, came to your house, I don't care. He cut in, his voice rough with feeling. I let him live once and he came back to threaten what's mine. There won't be a second chance. Panic came up in me as I got what he was planning. They'll link it to you. They'll take you from us. His look softened a bit as he looked down at me. No one takes me from what's mine, Elena. Not the police, not the feds. No one, please, I whispered, holding his shirt. There has to be another way. For a long time he looked at my face, fight clear in his eyes. Then, with hard work, he held in his mad. 3 days, he said at last. I'll give my lawyers 3 days to handle this legal. If they can't make him go away through courts, his look got hard, then I'll make him go away my way. Relief came over me, short though it was. Thank you. His hand touched my cheek, a move soft and owning. Don't thank me yet, Elena. One way or another, the father of your child will be gone from your life by week's end. The only question is if he'll be breathing when he goes. As he pulled me to his chest, his heartbeat strong under my ear, I got with clear shock that I didn't care which way Dante picked. All that mattered was keeping Lily safe, keeping her from the man who'd threatened her before she was born. And if that safety came with blood on Dante Salvatore's hands, I would learn to live with it. Because somehow, between the scars and the fear and the need for safety, I'd fallen in love with the most dangerous man in the city. A man who called me his, who would kill to keep what was his. A man who might lose everything. His free, his empire, his life because of the choice I'd made to stay. I'll take Lily and go, I whispered on his chest. Somewhere he can't find us. You can set it up. New names. A new life. Dante pulled back, his look getting darker. You would leave me to keep you safe, I said. If David goes away after threatening you open, they'll come for you, Dante. I can't let that happen because of us. His hand in my hair, tilting my face up to his. No one takes what's mine, he said again, each word sharp and deadly. Not him, not the law, not even you, Elena. The owning in his voice should have scared me. Instead, it started that risky warmth in my chest again, the sure that I belonged to this man fully and no going back. Then we face this together, I said, making my choice for good. Whatever comes. His answer was to kiss me, strong and taking as though making a deal between us. When he pulled away, his eyes were still dark with mad, but something else burned with it now, a devotion as risky and eating as his mad. Together he agreed, his forehead on mine until the end, whatever that may be. As I stood in his arms, around the mess of his mad and the promise of his safety, I knew I'd crossed a last line. There would be no going back from this. No faking I was just a woman under his roof, just a mom looking for safety for her child. I had become what the whispers at the gala had named me, Dante Salvatore's woman, the one he would kill for, the one he might die for. And God help me, I wouldn't have it any other way. The next 3 days went in a fog of stress and waiting. Dante's mansion became a strong place. Extra guards at every door, men following Lily and me when we left our rooms. I hardly saw Dante as he went into his study with different men in fancy suits, some lawyers, some not. On the evening of the 3rd day, I put Lily to bed early, tired from the always watching. As I sang her best song, smoothing her dark curls from her forehead, a shadow in the door got my notice. Dante stood watching us, his look softer than I'd seen since David's visit. He'd loosened his tie and tired-lined his face in a way I didn't see much, a reminder that even he had ends. "She's beautiful when she sleeps," he said quiet, as I joined him in the hall, pulling Lily's door half shut behind me. "She's always beautiful," I said with a tired smile. His hand held my cheek, thumb on my cheekbone with surprise soft like her mother. Something in his tone made my heart tight. "What's happened?" I asked, suddenly watchful. "Did the lawyers, let's go to my study," he cut in soft. "We need to talk." Fear held my chest as I followed him down the hall. In my time, nothing good ever came after those 4 words. Dante's study was back to clean. No sign left of his big mad days before. He poured us each a drink without asking, and I took mine happy, needing the drink brave. "The legal way has hit a wall," he said straight, leaning on his desk rather than sitting behind it. "David Reed has strong help. Money that isn't his power he shouldn't have." "Petro," I whispered the name tasting bad on my tongue. Dante nodded, his look getting hard. "Victor sees you as my weak spot. By helping Reed's claim to Lily, he hopes to take my mind, make my work shaky. It's a power move, nothing more. And David," the name still burned like acid in my mouth, "he wants money." Dante's voice was flat with hate. "He doesn't care about Lily. Never did. This is about taking money, pure and simple." Relief and mad fought in me. "So pay him. Make him sign away his rights and go away for good." Dante's look got darker. "I offered $2 million and more than enough to go away forever." He said no. "Why?" I whispered, though I knew the answer. "Because Petro promised him more." Dante put his glass down with care. "And because he wants to hurt you, Elena. Men like Reed, men who burn women and threaten kids. They need to rule, to handle. You got away once. He won't let it again." Cold fear in my stomach. "What happens now?" Dante moved away from the desk, standing before me. His hands held my face, soft even with the bad he could do. "Now I keep my promise," he said soft. "Now I make him go away." Even with all David had done, the pain, the fear, the scars, body and feeling, I felt a bit of weight. Not for his sake, but for Dante's. "There has to be another way," I said, though I knew there wasn't. "The police would need proof of his bad," Dante cut in soft. "Proof that doesn't exist because you never told. Because you were too scared, too alone." Shame burned through me at the reminder of my week, how I'd hidden the burns, made reasons for bruises, kept quiet about threats. "It's not your fault," Dante went on, reading my look easy. "Survivors do what they must, but legal, without papers. Your word against his isn't enough, especially with Petrov's lawyers saying you is not stable." "And if you kill him," I asked, my voice just a whisper, "what happens to us then?" Something changed in Dante's look. A softening. A week I didn't see much. "I have a thing to say, Elena." He took my hands in his touch not like usual weight. "I've been planning for this since the day you told me about your scars." Mix-up made my brow wrinkle. "What do you mean?" "Reed's going away was always going to happen," he said. "From the time I got what he'd done to you, what he'd threatened to do to Lily, his end was set. The only change was when." "Then why wait?" I asked. Why give him chance to find us? Because I needed you to pick me, he said simple. Not just as safety, not just as safe, but as the man you wanted. I needed to know you'd stay when he was gone, that you weren't with me only because you were running from him. The words stunned me quiet. All this time, I'd thought Dante spared David out of wrong mercy. Some try to keep hands clean for me. The truth was both easy and hard. He'd been waiting for me to give to him fully. And now, I asked, my voice not steady. Now everything is set, he said, his thumbs making circles on my hands. A hunting crash in the mountains. A body that will never be found. People who swear I was here with you when it happened. The cold way he said murder should have shocked me. Instead, I felt only a bad, big relief. The promise of free from the shadow that had followed us for years. No one will ever link it to you. I needed sure, not for my heart, but for our future. No one, he promised. Not even Petro, though he'll think. But think isn't proof, and without Reed to use, his hold is gone. I looked his face, searching for any doubt, any sign he wasn't sure of when. I found none, only that calm, deadly sure that had pulled me to him from the start. When? I asked, the one word with my okay. Tonight, he brushed hair from my face, tucking it behind my ear with surprise soft. It's already going. I should have felt something. Shock, guilt, fear. Instead, I felt only the sure that this man would do anything to keep what's his, that he'd kill without weight to keep Lily and me safe. And God help me. I loved him for it. There's something else, Dante said, his look changing a bit. Something I need to ask you before this is done. My heart jumped as he reached into his pocket, taking out a small, soft box. With a smooth that didn't match his size and strength, he went to one knee before me. Elena Reyes, he said, opening the box to show a diamond ring that caught light like trapped fire. When this is over, when you and Lily are really safe, will you be my wife? Tears made my sight blurry as I looked down at him. This strong, risky man on his knees before me. The question shouldn't have shocked me. Dante Salvatore took what was his fully and forever. Yet somehow the real ask took the breath from my lungs. You want to marry me? I whispered, hard believing the words even as I said them. I want to give you my name, he said, his eyes never leaving mine. I want Lily to be my daughter in every way. I want the world to know that you belong to me and I to you. There were 1,000 reasons to say no. His world of bad and power, the blood on his hands, the enemies who would always see us as way against him. Yet in that moment, none mattered. Yes, I said, the word coming on a breath. Yes, I'll marry you. His smile, rare and real, changed his face as he put the ring on my finger. The diamond was huge, showy in a way that would have made me shy months ago. Now I knew it for what it was. A say of owning, a warning to others, a promise of safety. Dante got up, pulling me to him in a kiss that was soft and taking. When he broke away at last, his look had gone back to risky sure. Wait for me in our bed, he said low, his hands staying at my waist. This will be over by morning. As I watched him leave the study, phone at his ear, as he gave quiet orders, I felt a weird sense of peace over me. Tonight, David Reed would go from our lives forever. Tomorrow, we would start new, not as the broken woman who'd cleaned blood from Dante's floors, but as the future Mrs. Salvatore. The cage had become a strong place, and I had stopped fighting the bars. Dante didn't come back until dawn, coming into our bed as the first light came through the curtains. I moved at him being there, reaching for him without thinking. Is it done? I whispered into the low light. His arms went around me, pulling me to the solid warmth of his chest. It's done, he said, his voice with the final of a killer's move. He won't bother you or Lily ever again. Relief went through me, so deep it was like body pain. For the first time since Lily's birth, the shadow of fear that had followed us was gone. And Petro? I asked, knowing the risk hadn't all gone. Dante's hand touched my back. Nice even with the bad I knew it had just done. A message has been sent. He'll back off, think again, but he won't move against us direct again. How can you be sure? His lips touched my forehead, surprise soft. Because in this world, Elena, there are lines even men like Victor won't cross. He tested my lines, found them hard, and lost a good thing in it. He's a businessman at heart. He won't risk more loss for a fight. I wanted to believe him. Needed to for Lily's sake. And if he does, Dante's arms got tighter around me, safe and owning. Then I'll destroy him too, he said simple. Anyone who threatens my family loses their right to be in my world. Family. The word rang in my mind, sweet and strong, somehow in the mess of blood and fear and need for safety. We had made something I'd never really had before. A family built on safety rather than pain, on owning rather than control. When do you want to get married? I asked, changing to something brighter, something to future, not past. I felt Dante's smile on my hair. As soon as we can. A month, maybe 2 for getting ready. Nothing big, just family and my close people. The easy say of family made me stop. Do you have family? You've never said them. A bit of quiet followed long enough I thought he might not answer. A sister, he said at last. In Milan with her husband and kids. We talk little for her safety more than mine. I took this new info, this look into the man behind the power. Will she come for the wedding? She'll come, he said. Francesca has waited long for me to find someone worth bringing into the family. Warm came in my chest at the thought I might be worth that. That this strong, risky man had picked me not just for my body or weak, but for something deeper. And Lily, I asked, will you adopt her? Dante moved, holding up on one arm to look down at me, his look serious in the more light. If you'll let it. I want her to have my name, my safety, my things after. I want to be her dad in every way. Tears came to my eyes, surprise and big. The picture of Dante who could order death without moving, teaching Lily to bike, reading her stories, walking her down aisle someday was almost too much. She already loves you, I whispered, reaching to touch his face. She gets happy when you come in. Something weak went across his face. Gone so fast I might have thought it. And you, Elena, do you love me? Not just for the safe I give, not just for what I can give, but for who I am. The question surprised me. Dante Salvatore, who ran an empire with full say, who killed without weight to keep his, was asking if I loved him, as though there was doubt. Yes, I answered, the truth in my bones. God help me. I love every part of you, even the parts that scare me. Relief made his look soft, and he brought his mouth to mine in a kiss that was surprise soft. Good, he said on my lips, because I've loved you since I saw you cleaning my floors. So set, so broken, yet still fighting. We made love as the sun came up, his touches soft even with the nights bad, as though showing us both that his hands could make nice as easy as they did death. After, as we lay mixed in wet sheets, his fingers traced the scars on my back, not with pity but with respect. These are signs of honor, he said quiet. Proof that you lived, that you kept our daughter when no one else would. Our daughter. The simple words brought new tears to my eyes. I want more, I said, the words out before I could think again. More kids. A brother or sister for Lily. Dante's hand stopped on my skin, his eyes finding mine with a strong that took my breath. You would have my kids. The weak in the question broke my heart a bit. For all his power, all his money, he still couldn't believe I had picked him fully. Yes, I whispered, bringing his hand to my stomach. I want to carry your child, Dante. I want to build a family with you. The smile that changed his face was like sun through clouds. Rare and amazing. Then we'll start trying right away, he said, rolling me under him again. I'm a very set man, Elena. I always get what I want. I laughed, the sound light and free in a way I hadn't felt in years. So, I've seen... Later that morning, as Dante and I sat at breakfast with Lily talking happy between us, I caught him watching us with a look I'd never seen. Happy, maybe, or something close to calm. What are you thinking? I asked, reaching over the table to take his hand, his fingers with mine, strong and steady. That some men spend lives getting money, power, land, thinking, these will fill the empty in them. His eyes met mine, dark and true. I was one of those men until I found something worth more than all. And what's that? I asked, though I knew. His look went from me to Lily, then back. His look soft in a way few would see. A family to keep safe, he said simple. A reason to come home. As I looked at him over the breakfast table, this risky, hard man who had killed for us, who would kill again if needed, I got we had both found what we really needed. He had found something better than power. I had found something better than safe. We had found each other. 6 weeks later, I became Elena Salvatore and a small thing looking over the Mediterranean at Dante's house in Sicily. Lily, shining in a white dress that matched mine, threw flower bits with wild fun, and called Dante Papa for the first time. That night, as we stood on our private spot under lots of stars, Dante's arms around me from behind, his hands playing owning on my still flat stomach. "My wife," he said on my neck, the words full of happy. "My family." I leaned back on his strong, feeling safer and more loved than I'd thought possible. The scars on my back no longer hurt with shame, but told of a trip that led me here. To this man, this life, this surprise happy. "No regrets?" he asked, a rare unsure in his voice. I turned in his arms, reaching to hold his face with my hands. "None," I promised, meaning it fully. Every scar, every fight, every moment of fear. They were all leading me to you. His kiss was soft, holy, a promise of safety that would never fail, an owning that would never change. And as the stars shone up and the Mediterranean waves hit the rocks below, I gave in fully to the truth I'd been fighting since the first time I saw him. Some cages weren't meant to be got away. Some were meant to be called home.